Okay, here we go. I think we're good. Good morning. Oh, I hear myself. I'm gonna plug in. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunshine Fund live webinar. My name is Dana Mrose, and I will be going over the webinar with you today. We're just going to allow for a couple minutes. There are 8 people signed up online, so we're had about 11 that had actually wanted to be online. So we're just going to wait a couple minutes. This will give you an opportunity to print out your documents if you haven't had the chance yet. That would be a copy of the Sunshine Fund form that was sent to you, and also a copy of the verification spreadsheet. It was called Camp Sundown spreadsheet. It's a fictitious camp, but if you don't mind printing them out, it'll be easier to follow along, and we'll go over in detail about the verification of the campers and the invoicing. We're also just going to check audio, so it'll be a couple minutes, and then we will start. So what do you think, Kim? Can you hear it okay?
Yeah, well, I turned off my volume.
Okay. Good. Okay. Wait a couple more minutes. We have 9 now. Okay.
A little bit.
Okay, I think we're going to start. We still have 9 viewers, so hopefully everybody has been able to get on. If not, you can email Kim right away, and we'll try and help you get on. Yeah, Kim Sugar at manitobacamping.ca. Okay, so we're just going to give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about this morning. It should only run us about 30 minutes. So hopefully that'll be okay. And also we'll just give you an outline of what we're going to discuss, and then we're going to start. So first of all, we're just going to take you to our website for a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the Sunshine Fund applications. That's what parents have to send into us in order to be assessed for funding. Then we'll go over the verification spreadsheet. I sent that to you in attachment. It was called Camp Sundown Verification. And that will combine with the invoicing, because that is how we invoice our camps. In other words, pay you for the Sunshine Fund campers that attended, who we've approved. And lastly, we'll have a question and answer period. So that can range for as long as you want to stay on. And if by chance that your question isn't answered, or you think of something after the fact, I'll be in the office till 3 today. You can give me a call at any time, and we can discuss things further. It might be easier when things are fresh in your mind to ask questions, so we can go over anything we talked about today. Okay, so first of all, I will just address you to our website, so mbcamping.ca. I'm sure you've all been on there already, but if not, under the Sunshine Fund application section, there is detailed information about the Sunshine Fund and the Sunshine Fund application. So if you ever have any parents that come into your office having questions about us, or want to know more about the Sunshine Fund, by all means, direct them to the website, or they can call me. My contact information is on there as well. So a call, email, whatever they prefer. Don't worry about sending us too many or too few. We will try and work with everybody. Our goal is to get as many kids to camp as possible. So if they know about the Sunshine Fund and they qualify, we'll be able to help them out. Okay, so so they get a chance, just direct them to the website. The main thing on our website that I want to refer the parents to is our low income table. That is the criteria we follow to assess who will qualify for campership. So that is the main reason they can go on there at any time. And also all your camps are listed, all our accredited camps are listed. So they can also browse the camps and see which one best suits them and their wishes to attend. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our Sunshine Fund application, and we will briefly go over this. This is what parents fill out and send to us. So it's more for, just so you know the process more than anything, and what parents need to do in order to be approved for funding. So this application in front of you that you've printed out is just simply that. It is an application. It does not mean that when they fill this out, they're automatically approved. We fund kids based on the funding that is available. So last year we had over, I believe, or just under rather 700 applications, and we were only able to send 614 kids. So just because they fill this out does not mean that they automatically get approved for funding. So to start off, on the section 1 is your camper information. So basically that is just the child's name and all the details about the child, their birth date and such. Underneath that, you'll notice that there's a little note that says, please ensure you register directly with your camp of choice before submitting your Sunshine application. So basically what has to happen is that anybody who is looking for Sunshine Fund subsidy must be registered at your camp prior to registering with us. So they fill in all the details of their camp underneath their name. So which camp they're going to, the accredited camp, the session, the date they've registered, whether they need transportation or not, and the total fees that are owed. And also if there's any special needs the child has. It's important that they add that in there just so that you can be better prepared at the camp. And also we like to know that so that when we verify which children are coming, it's just an extra little note in case for some reason it was missed for whatever reason, that you can see it again for a second time when we verify which campers are approved. So that's the first camper. There's another child. You can fill out the second child information. There's more than 2 children. Simply print out the first page again and just keep adding the children. You do not have to send all other 3 pages of the application again. So now page number 2, section number 2 is the parent contribution. This is the portion the parent has to pay to us, which we then forward on to you. So the application will place on hold until a parent contribution is received. So sometimes what happens is parents will register at your camp and then not send us an application. So, or the 25% parent contribution that is due. So that sometimes creates a lull. So I do encourage you that when a parent does come to your camp to register, and they say they're coming through us for Sunshine Fund subsidy, encourage them to do it immediately, because that'll avoid the lull between you getting the child registered and them actually applying to us. Lots of times what will happen throughout March, April, and May is that camps will question and say, have you had this child? This child said they're coming through you. Do you have an application? Or are they approved? And I often say, well, they haven't even sent in their application yet. So if they do give you notice that they are going through us for Sunshine Fund subsidy, please encourage them to do so immediately after they register with you. It'll just keep the process going quicker, and it'll also, you'll know that they're registered and approved a lot faster, and we don't have to wait for these applications. Also, what will happen is that sometimes the parent will apply for us for subsidy and they're missing information. So that could be the holdup also. So that gives us a chance to send them an email and say, look, you're missing this document for your complete application. Please send it in. We can't do anything further for you until all the documents are in place. So section 2 on page 2 is the parent contribution. Now, to note especially is that this mandatory parent contribution fee has changed from 20% to 25%. So that will be what is required from the parent going forward. The fee is taken simply because, honestly, when the parents have committed to paying a portion of the fee, they actually have such a high rate of actually attending. Apparently in the past years, like several years ago, apparently there was either a lesser or maybe no parent fee that was required, and then therefore they did not have the urgency to attend as well. It was more something they registered for and did not end up going to. So it's great that we have this now. Our attendance or no-shows are very minimal. I think we had 3 last year out of 600 and some. Everything okay there, Kim, for audio? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so there's a quick little example of the cost. It's just assume that the camp registration fee is $400, transportation's $50, the total fees is $450. The parent contribution is 25% of that. So basically $450 times 25, the parent would have to pay to us $112.50. Then they just fill in the details of their actual camp costs below. They want to pay via credit card, they can. They can send in cash, check, or money order. all those options are available. But if they send in post-dated checks, some parents like to make time payments. If they have several kids going, they like to make time payments in April, May, June. We allow for that as long as their last time payment is June 1st of 2019, before summer starts. The third section is the parent information. It's very straightforward. Parent's last name, first name, on their contact information. It's very important that they put a cell phone number or an email address in there, because when they are approved for funding, we notify them firstly through email. And if for some reason we get a bounce back, then we'll notify them through telephone. But when they give us a telephone message, it's really important that they leave a voicemail so that we can actually leave them a message of their approval. Oh, and I just answered that. I just got a question about if parent doesn't have email. That's okay. No, that's fine. Yes, if they don't have email, then they have to have a phone number where we can leave a message, preferably. If they don't have a phone number where you can leave a message, it's important that they let us know that, because then we'll give them a chance. We'll call them back again. Lots of times we get numbers left on our applications that are just out of service. And, that just delays everything. I often end up phoning the camp back and saying, do you have anything other than what I have, because I can't get a hold of these parents to let them know. So if we keep working together that way, you know what? I often, like I say, call the camps to get information that I'm missing, and when we get to the verification spreadsheet, you'll notice that we have an opportunity to fill in that information for me when I don't have it. So the section 3 is about the parent and their information. Section 4 is the Manitoba Health Card. I need a copy of that. And we ask them to put their number of people in their family, the total gross household income, and the number of dependents. So page 3, section 5 is the financial information. So the main difference on this page from last year is that there is no more check mark for foster parents. We will not be funding foster parents, children from foster families. So the parent will be single, married, a social assistance, a refugee claimant, or business owner. Those are the options. If they check out whatever applies to them. For proof of income or verification, what has changed here is notice of assessment from previous tax year. This we do the previous tax year so that they're not waiting for their notices of assessment. They usually come in May sometime, and that's too late for any parent to send in application to us. So we allow for the previous year. So they should already have these notices of assessment. They should have came to them in May or June or whenever they're done with their taxes. So we always take the previous year. So we can do that. If they are on a budget letter, meaning they're on social assistance from the government, a copy of that is fine, but because that already says that they are in financial hardship. And if they are a refugee, we need government proof of refugee status in Canada. If they're a business owner, we always require more information because a business is a little more in depth and it's not as straightforward. So but we contact the parent directly for that. Number 6 is simply letters, and we use these for various reasons. Sometimes the letters will give us an opportunity to tell our donors what their dollars have done and such. So this is basically, does not affect their application whatsoever. It's just something we like to add for promo pieces that we need. And also the Winnipeg Free Press interviews a lot of these parents and children for their stories that run in May, June, July. So that's why we like that bottom part filled off. So we have actually always applicants who are willing to tell their story, and which will promote the Sunshine Fund in the end. So the last page of the Sunshine Fund, it's just very important information. Number 1 and 2 and 3 are what's really important for the parent. And at the last line on number 1, it says, submitting this application does not guarantee funding. That is something that some parents don't realize. They think once they filled this in, they were good to go. So number 2, if the Sunshine approves you for camp subsidy, be notified via email. This is what I had already mentioned, that we do email first because it's the easiest, it's the simplest. It's a permanent confirmation that we can go back on and just verify very easily. The phone call and the message is the last thing that we will, or the second option we will do. But we much prefer email. It gives us a paper trail that way for us and the parents. And number 3 says, should you choose to send your child without approval, it becomes your responsibility to cover the camp fees. And that is true. But that is something that we at the Sunshine Fund look after very closely with the camps. When we send out the verifications sheet, when we get to that, you will realize that no child on, like any child that is on that sheet is approved for funding. So it's very straightforward that way. The child's not on the sheet we send you, they're not approved. And section 7 is simply a checklist for the parents, and they have to have their signature and the date. So that's basically the Sunshine Fund application and all the required documents. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to go over with you at the end or another time. Am I going too fast? No? Okay, good. Okay, so we'll move on then to the verification with camps and the invoicing. So I'll give you a second to bring this up on your computer if you haven't printed it out, because you can do either one, but it's a lot easier to follow along if you have it with you. And I suggest, especially for registrars and the camp directors, this is how we reimburse you for the Sunshine Funds kids that come, and also how we track who's going and who we paid for. We always need, because our funding is reliant on donations, we always need to know what we spent at any given time. So starting in February, when our application actually opens, we'll start getting applications in February right up until the end of June. And of course, we always get the late applications in July. So at any given point in time, I can let Kim know exactly what we spent on Sunshine Fund applications, which is important because we have to balance that with our funding that comes available through donations and grants. So hopefully you all have that up right away, and we'll go over the verification spreadsheet. So I've named this one Camp Sundown. I just made up a fictitious camp. Okay, so we called it Camp Sundown, and on column A, this is the date and the application received. That is just for office use only. That is for myself. I just keep track. We're on a first come, first serve basis. So I need to know when these applications come in the office. So basically we date them and we go from there so that we always know who's in line. If they don't, within a reasonable time frame, if they sent in something and they're missing it, we will notify them that they have to send it in to us if they're missing a part of their application. But we only keep their spot so long. If they do not have the complete documents, they have to go to the end of the line, because we have to keep this rolling and keep the kids going to camp. We can't wait on 50 kids to send in their last piece of paper to verify their income, or whatever reason they don't have their complete application in. So that's just for my purposes. So this verification spreadsheet is what will be sent to each of the registrars or camp directors, whoever is looking after the registration and approving or looking after the kids that come from the Sunshine Fund. This will be sent to them periodically. So what happens is we open it in February, and all of a sudden the applications start coming in. Once I have entered enough of them that I say, okay, I'm going to let this camp know that I've got 5 kids now that want to come to their camp. I will enter the information in here and I will send it to you. So let's look at the information in here. So first of all, it's just the date, like I mentioned, that I got it, received the application. It's complete. Your name of your camp. So Camp Sundown would go in there. The child's first name. I'm just going to tell you what I entered in here so that if you need to refer to it, once I send this out, I can always send it to you as a completed document as well, so you can see. So right now I sent it to you blank, but I entered information, and you can enter it as well if you want me to follow along. I just put the first child's name as in Matt. I put his last name in column D, Miller, and he is a child gender, so I put M for male. And then his birth date, he was born March 12th of 2009. Again, this is a fictitious child. A postal code, I just threw one in there. You'll see his parents' first name. I put his bill, and the parents' last name, I kept it the same as the child. It isn't always the same, but in this case it is. It's Miller. And now the parents' email, which is most important. I put that in there if I have it. Sometimes they arrive on my application without the email. I don't wait for that before I approve them for camp. I will send that along otherwise, but I work on getting the email. But that's where you'll come in and you'll see that after. The parent phone number, I enter that. And then the camp 2019 camp fee. So in this case, in my spreadsheet, I entered $400 just randomly. But that is one of the most important columns in this. The cost of the camp fee is what I have received from the parent. So it's not necessarily accurate. It hopefully is, because they're supposed to register with you and they should know the cost of that camp fee. But some things change. Sometimes they switch camps last minute, or they were, for whatever reason, they didn't enter the camp fee properly. So anything on the spreadsheet, keep in mind, I'm getting this from the parent. So I put in $400 because that's what the parent told me. The transportation fee was $50 in this case. The GST, and sometimes the transportation is without GST. So you as a camp will know that. If you charge GST to your parents, you can in turn charge it to us. So if you don't charge GST, then we won't be paying the GST. If you charge it, we'll pay the full percent of the GST. So in this case here, I put just so you'll see it when you get it, I put the GST just on the camp fee of $400. So it became $20. I left the transportation out because most of the time it is out. The camp session, that's just the name of the session. So sometimes there's called teen camp, or I know for the younger kids, sometimes it's called teddy bear camp or whatever. I just put the name of the camp in there. For this one, I put teen camp. And then your camp start dates and end dates, very straightforward, whatever camp the parent registered for. And special needs. Now that came off of our Sunshine Funds sheet. You saw that when I went through it. The parent wrote anything in there. I transferred right to this sheet so that you can see what their special needs are, if any. And if there's none, great. And if there is, at least the camp is aware of this before the child gets there. In case they missed it on your form, I believe most camps have some kind of notation for anything special needs. But in case it gets missed, it's just another opportunity to know what this child is all about. Notes from the MCA, that's just something, if I have something important I need to tell you, I will add it in there. And then the last two columns are the register comments and the verified by registrar. So register comments. So now when you get this spreadsheet, you will have campers on it just as we went through. Now, the goal for the registrar is to ensure that the information that I have submitted in this verification spreadsheet is actually accurate, because this actually came from my parent, don't forget. So if the camp fee, we'll go back to that, as I put in $400, if you figure out, okay, you took this child, Matt Miller, okay, he's not registered at teen camp, he's registered at something totally different, okay, and the cost of the camp is $450, not $400. You can go right into my spreadsheet here and change the camp fee to its accuracy, okay? That's the goal, that everything that is on this spreadsheet becomes accurate and verified by yourself. So just because I approved him for $400, if your camp fee was $450, that is the new cost I've approved him, because you're going to initial it at the end and leave me a note saying, you know what, the cost was wrong. It's actually $450, initialed by EP for Elvis Presley today. Okay, so that's what you do. So registered comments, you can write in there. I'm going to write in there now, changed fees to different camp, because let's say it was junior camp instead of teen, because it's an extra $50. And then you go right underneath camp costs and you change that to $450. And then in verified by registered, so now you've checked out every cell in this child line and you verified it. So if there was nothing in parent email, because I didn't have one, please add it in, because that way I will have it when I go to email the parent and let them know they're approved. So every child, when you get this spreadsheet, every child on here is approved for funding. Okay, so whether you have to change the camp fee by a few dollars, that's okay, because when you send it back to me, I'm going to account for that in our total dollars spent, and that just will change. That'll change a little bit, not much. I mean, usually the camp fee is very close, but we allow for that just because we have to keep this as an ongoing process. So you changed Matt's fee to $450. But you also made a note. So the important thing is that you make a note so that I can automatically quickly see what you've changed in here. If you change the email address because I had it wrong, make a note. If it's the camp dates that are wrong, just make a note and I will adjust it when you send it back to me. So as soon as you verified everything, you put your initials in there, and then you return it to me. Now I update my records, so my revenue that the money that I've approved for this certain child will change. And I'll update my records every time I get them back. So that's how we'll do it on an ongoing basis. So you might have 5 kids the first time. In 2 weeks from the first time I sent you the spreadsheet, you might get it again and there'll be an extra 6 kids on there. So you verify those 6 kids. You don't have to double check the ones you already initialed, because those are in and approved for those dates. You get the next 6, they'll be right underneath those first ones, and you initial them again and send it back to me. So the important thing is that I receive this back as soon as possible. You know, everything will roll better if I send it to you and I get it back the next day or next 2 days. I know you guys are busy during registration, as are we, but your timeliness is important in this. And also, it'll be interesting because what'll happen is after a couple weeks or a couple times you receive this email, you'll notice like a kid had applied for funding, you know, or had registered for camp about a month ago, and yet he's still not on the spreadsheet. Well, that would tell me then perhaps he either A, didn't send it in, and that's when you can give me a call, send me an email and say, look, I've had this kid who said they are applying for funding and they're still not on your approved spreadsheet. And I can say to you, well, he's missing this, this, and this, but I have no contact information. So go ahead and contact him and let him know what he's missing. Or I can say, I don't even have the application, but if he registered with you, you'll have contact information. Go and let them know that they have to get applying or they're going to be taken off. And I know that's important, especially when it gets closer and camps start getting full. You don't want to not have full camps because you're waiting for these kids. So the sooner we can just keep this spreadsheet circulating and the quicker I can get it back, everything will run smoothly, or a lot smoother, I hope. So, and I must say we've done this last year and it does work. It does work well. And like I say, when things change slightly, as long as you make the appropriate changes, especially when it comes to the camp costs, because once you've initialed it, that is what you'll be receiving for that child. So that's important to keep that up to date and accurate. The last column, attended and canceled and no-shows, is just for the end of camp. We want to keep the no-shows to a minimum. So we want to know if the parent is actually registering, that's paying their contribution and then not going. Then we don't want to be paying for children who are not attending. I mean, we'll pay the camps for them because they're registered and said they're going, but the following year they will not receive funding due to the fact that we've paid for them and they didn't show up. I mean, sometimes there's last minute things that come up, and of course those we can consider, but they do have to show up. And there is a cancellation policy that I do send them with their approval. It's just a notice that says you have so many days to cancel in advance. You have to contact me and the camp, and that goes out with their email when I send them for approval. So just so you know, when I've approved these children for funding on the spreadsheet, until I get your initial back, as soon as I get your initials back that you verified them, that's when I send it to the parent and say, you're good to go to camp. Okay, so I don't let the parent know just because I've approved them. I wait for you to get this back to me so that I know the camp cost is right, everything's right. So that's when I'll send the parents a note. Okay, so basically the important thing, the reason this is also so important to keep this up to date and accurate is because this is what I use to send you your invoice and to pay you. So at any given time, you will know what you'll be receiving from the Sunshine Fund at the end of August, beginning of September for a payment. So that's another reason we have to keep it accurate, because it's very easy. I will just tally up the total camp cost, the total transportation and GST, and I get a total, and boom, that's sent to you, and that's what you're receiving in a check form. I mean, of course, there's the odd thing that happens, and if something does come up, please just let me know and we can talk about it and work it out. We're not here to, we're here to work with you as best we can and get as many kids to camp as possible. So, I mean, sometimes somebody forgets transportation or something. It's not the end of the world. We've allotted some monies aside for things like that. So that could happen, and that could change your invoice, which we will work with you to do so it's as accurate as possible. Okay, so that basically, we kept that to 28 minutes. That was good. So there's questions. We can take a question and answer period now. And I have them in. The question is, application will be in French soon too. Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. So it wasn't a question, it was a statement. Okay. Yes. One of our camps has offered to translate our application into French for us. So we'll put both online and on our website, and they can be downloaded. And that's another thing. If parents are coming in, and I know some parents don't have email sometimes, if they need a printed copy, we can mail them a copy as well if you don't have the opportunity to print one off right there and give it to them as they register with you. Because I know lots of camps also register online. So maybe, I don't know if there's a lot of foot traffic in your camp anymore, like there used to be, but if there is, and if somebody wants a copy, we'll definitely mail it out to them. Can you review what to not pay for, like Tuck? Yes, I can. Okay, very good point. I'm not sure whose question was that, but that is good. We do not pay for anything other than the actual camp fee. So no tuck fees and no canteen will be included in your camp cost. So when you are changing that camp fee, because mine's incorrect, it still has to be the actual camp fee that your camp pays for, or that the child would be paying for camp, but not including tuck or canteen. Those are extras, and the parents would have to come up with those dollars themselves. No, not as far as I know. I was going to say something. Okay. Shoot, that's okay. No, that's okay. No, that's fine. That's one thing. That was one question. Do we cover only 1 week per child? Yes, we will fund one child per camp session per summer. So of course, some camps have longer sessions, and that's fine. That's what they will pay for. So, actually, you know what? There's a couple things I did want to mention. Maybe before I go to that, do we cover only 1 week per child? Yes, we do. One session per child per summer. But we only cover a maximum of $700 per child. So if some camps fees are more than that, that's when we go to the parent and say, look, we were going to cover the 700. After that, you have to work out the difference if the cost is above 700. Okay, so we do that. We let the parents know that ahead of time when they apply for us, that they're getting a $700 maximum. And actually, I didn't point it out, but on our application form, it actually says that. And what if sick for 1 day? Should they mention as a no-show? No, if a child's sick and has to go home, to me, that's not a no-show. What we're trying to avoid is children that don't show up at all. Okay, so they paid the parent contribution. I've said to you they're approved, and I'm paying you for the camp spot, and then come the day they have to show up, they don't show up at all, and don't show up all week, and that spot sits empty. That could have been used for another child. That's the part we want to avoid. I mean, kids get sick. That's not it. That's not what this no-show is about. Are there any other questions?
It was asked if it's a live Google document, somebody if you email, and I said no, it's just an update that you could do and send.
Yes. Okay. Okay, another question came in. If a camp has campership funds, can that be used as a parent contribution? Yes. Okay, actually, so some camps in the past have their own internal campership funds, and when we know about that, we mention that to them to talk to you directly. So just like we want you to encourage them to talk to us for the Sunshine Fund, if we know you have a campership and you want to spend it on the underserved children in the province, we direct them to you and say, you know what, maybe talk to them and see what they can do. Because sometimes you're right, they cannot pay their parent contribution. And we do need to collect the 25%. We do forward that on to you, but that 25% we do need to collect from them originally, because it confirms that they're going to go, and then the no-shows are far less. And yes, if you want to cover that on their behalf, that's totally fine. We can discuss that. It goes on. Just send me an email or something, because sometimes the parents will tell you they can't afford the 25%, or they'll tell us. But if they tell you and we don't find out, you're right, we would be kind of waiting for it, and it'd kind of be in limbo there. So for sure, if the camp wants to cover it, it's been done in the past. Do you have more questions? Okay, so if there's no more questions, I will be available here till 3. So by all means, if you are new to this and it's still not